Hello, my name is Mr. Alonzi. I'm the head of maths at Rugby High, and I'll be talking to you briefly about why you should be studying maths and why at Rugby High. There are many reasons why you might want to be studying maths. It normally is one of three. The first is that you've always had a massive passion for mathematics and you've always loved the challenge of solving problems, not just those in maths lessons, but those from the Maths Challenge, those you find in newspapers, magazines, and puzzles you find online. Other people will have looked ahead and will have seen that maths is incredibly important for whatever it is they are choosing to study in the future, be it economics, natural sciences, another science, geography, or obviously any degree with maths in the title, and realise that they need a maths A-level or potentially even a further maths A-level in order to apply to those universities to study those degrees. And there's those of you who have always enjoyed maths, but the main thing they've enjoyed about it is that it's come naturally to them. And they're thinking that this could be an A-level that they could really, really do well and get an A or an A star in, because maths is just one of those subjects that they've just found themselves naturally good at. Although I've given three different reasons people go ahead to study maths, often you might think I'm a bit of an overlap of all of them. And in that case, I strongly suggest you consider taking maths at A-level. These are our 2019 results. As you know, the 2021s were a mixture of both an algorithm followed by CAGs and don't really add anything to my talk today. The main reason I show these results is that, as you can see, the majority of pupils achieve a very good grade in mathematics at Rugby High. We get a fair number of A stars and A's, which allow our pupils to go off and study maths, sciences, medicine at the top universities in the country. I also like this slide for a less cheery note to point out that people do achieve U's. Maths is hard, it's that element of right and wrong, and you need to always be very honest with yourself that it does involve a lot of hard work from the start to achieve a good grade. And if you're not prepared to put in the work, there is a possibility of failure that may not exist in other subjects. So, what qualities do you need? It says proven track record in mathematics. By that, I'm really talking about your ability to push yourself and always be willing to improve your mathematics and mathematical ability. You also need this proven track record and an enjoyment of maths for when it gets tough. These three, well, those two linked with resilience make a three that are incredibly important, because there is nobody who studies maths at A-level that at one point doesn't find it hard going. And it's one of those three bits of your personality that will help you in those circumstances. When it is getting tough, you can either look back that in the past you found something challenging and now it's straightforward. If you can't remember back to your time at primary school, maybe back to some time in year 7 when something that you now find quite trivial proved to be a big challenge. That's always something to remember. You have overcome those challenges in the past. An enjoyment of mathematics will help you in those circumstances, because if the maths is something that you've always enjoyed, you'll want to make sure you continue to enjoy it by continuing to work and be successful. And those combine together to make you a resilient person with the subject. I say confident with fractions and algebra because that does need to become second nature. And it's something that I always tell people when they're like, after my exams in the summer, what can I do to make sure I'm still doing well and I can hit the ground running in September when I do a maths A-level? And it's to make sure that your algebra is flawless and that fractions pose no fear to you. There are obviously, the other quality you need is the entrance criteria, which is either a grade 7, 8 or 9 at GCSE. So the exam structure, we do the exam board Edexcel. A number of members of staff at Rugby High are examiners for Edexcel at both GCSE and A-level. And at A-level it's both maths and further maths that we examine. This is the course structure. Pure mathematics still makes up 2/3 of the course. There's bits on mechanics, which makes up 1/6, and statistics. I always feel at this point that it's the statistics that I like to focus on most, not at the expense of the others, which are incredibly important. But sometimes people don't realise the value of statistics in subjects outside of mathematics. There's been plenty of cases in law where failure to understand rudiments of statistics and Bayesian probability has resulted in wrongful convictions or wrongful decisions. And I always find it interesting that these are often in the realms of areas where people haven't studied statistics to a great detail and great level of depth. And at the moment, we're all currently living in a world where statistics are making up a lot of the reasons behind decisions that are being made. And it's always helpful to understand the statistics and the numbers and the mathematical modelling behind these. The exam will be 3 hours, 3 exams of 2 hours each, Pure 1, Pure 2 and applications in June of year 13. Now, there are those amongst you that will be thinking of studying further mathematics. To do that, you need to pick both maths in one of the maths blocks and further maths in the further maths block. So it takes up 2 choices. However, when you're doing further maths, you will normally be studying 4 A levels. When I was at school, I did maths, further maths, physics and chemistry. The only people when I was at school who did 4 A levels were those doing further maths. I know there is a criteria for doing 4 distinct A levels. However, should you have the entrance criteria for mathematics and the rest of your GCSEs are strong enough, you'll normally be allowed to study maths and further maths even if you have missed that criteria slightly. I love further maths. Sadly, it is the only place you these days study complex numbers. Complex numbers are that area of mathematics that involves the square root of -1, which for hundreds and hundreds of years was just studied by mathematicians for fun. They did equations, they did analysis on this idea of the square root of -1, and it had very, very little practical use. However, it's these days used as to underpin a lot of our communication work and a lot of our work in electronics. I always wonder whether in this day and age people would be allowed to spend hundreds of years just doing something for fun and intellectual curiosity without any obvious end product. We normally do a bit of decision maths as one of our optional modules. This is good for underpinning a lot of work people might want to choose to do in economics or operational research courses like Morse. It also links incredibly closely to computer science. I know a lot of our students who do computer science and further maths find that those, particularly the decision maths elements, work so hand in hand to reinforce both of the subjects. And you can see that you have to do 4 extra exams to get the further maths. So I'll just leave you with some quotes from our Year 12s. Every year I ask them how they found the start of term and how they found the start of A level, and every year I get very similar responses. This year there's a few more saying that the jump from GCSE to A level is quite large and you go very quickly, but often in normal years that wouldn't be as many. What I do find is that certain comments such as what was hard, so that idea of quadratic equations or simultaneous equations, that at GCSE you think, oh, they're near the end of the paper, they can be quite a challenge, are available in every question. You often need those techniques and they need to become second nature to you. Hence my use that time between the end of your GCSEs and the start of A levels to make sure you don't forget how to do those. Some people will find A level maths easy and have found GCSE easy. There are people who are in that category, and they're every year, and they always say that they've, particularly at the start when they don't feel that big jump, they haven't done the extra calculus work where for a lot of students that's the first new topics that they really discover, because you do a lot of work around straight lines, a lot of algebra work, and then you get this topic of calculus, which is completely new to them. There are some that move to further maths very early on because they want that extra challenge. Again, I mentioned that everything is a quadratic equation. I still remember the first people that ever sort of said that to me way back at the start of my teaching career, which is quite a long time ago now. And I thought, yes, it does seem that way at A level. everything seems to be modelled at least with a quadratic, very rarely with a linear equation. That third quote there is the one that I feel is appropriate for the majority of students that study A-level. You don't pick an A-level that is not one of your stronger areas. So nobody picks A-level maths thinking, I find maths really difficult. I've not done as well in maths as I have in my other subjects. But all of a sudden, they start to doubt themselves. And that's when we go back to that idea of resilience, and that they've had that proven track record and they do love the subject. That's what they can rely on. And then it normally does start to come together. And we're seeing it already with the year 12s, when the first baseline test threw up a few of them thinking, oh gosh, have I made the right decision? This second test we just done, that's a much stronger result, and we're really quite pleased with how they've worked and they've come together. And it's that idea that all the work finally starts to show some reward, even as early as this stage in year 12. So thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing people in the flesh, so to speak, at some point, and I hope you choose to study maths at Rugby High. Thank you very much.